Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning into Soul Life Living with Ainsley. Today I'm going to talk to you about gut health and what kinds of ailments and diseases it can be related to within our body. One of them that they're now finding is mental health. This is super important, so stay tuned. Okay, so I'm sure you've heard or saw a post or something about gut health. You've probably heard about kombucha or something like that. Most of us have heard about it, but we're not too sure what it is, what it can cause, or what to do about it. So we just, as usual, keep going through life. But this is super important and you need to do something about it because they are finding that more and more disease, ailments, mental illnesses are being associated with our gut health. Unfortunately, so many factors in the environment that we cannot control are being linked to imbalancing our gut, but there are things we can do to help it, okay? So basically, at the end of the day, there's thousands of bacteria in our gut. And there's good, there's bad, and they need to maintain a good balance in order to help your body function the way it should be into its maximum capacity. Some of the things that can throw this bacteria balance off are things like air pollution, pollution from toxins in our home, vehicles, personal care products, additives, preservatives in our foods, antibiotics and medications are a big one. So gut health is so important, even for a newborn baby. So it is said that babies, yes, they're born with toxins in their bloodstreams. That comes from pollution and things that mom is ingesting. But in terms of gut health, they're said that they're born with somewhat of a sterile gut. And the first exposure they get to this bacteria that they should be having in their gut is through birth, if you're having like a vaginal birth. Now, babies who go through C-section are not exposed to this exposure. So for both, it's super important to get your infants and your children on probiotics. But like I said, C-section babies, nothing wrong with it, totally fine, but they're just missing that exposure. So it's even a little more important to have probiotic source for your babies because they're still exposed to all of the toxins and all of the pollutants and stuff that we're exposed to. It's just that they're coming in with a sterile gut. And so basically they're not really given a chance like we are. We kind of, have something in there. Let's start them off on the right foot. Anyways, important for everyone though. So I'm going to get into, this is going to be part 1. Part 2 is going to be how to get your gut back or how to recognize that there's a serious issue and look for further help. This one's going to be talking about some of the ailments, okay, and how serious it can be. So like I said, so many things in our environments that we cannot control throwing our gut off. One of the major things that I consider a huge factor is malabsorption. So in your gut, that's where your food's digested, and it takes like your stomach acid and everything has to be in the right amounts or, the balance, okay, to digest your foods properly and to absorb those nutrients that you're ingesting. So, it's shitty enough that our food supply is like totally depleted in nutrients, but if your body's then not even absorbing what you're giving it, that's where we lead to deficiencies and so many other symptoms. So yeah, when we think of like mineral, vitamin deficiencies, we're thinking of like third world countries, but actually it exists in North America because of exactly what I'm talking about. The food supply is low in them to begin with, and then so many of us have an imbalanced gut, which then furthers the availability of these nutrients. They're just being like flushed out of our body, unfortunately. Another one is leaky gut, and that just because you have an imbalanced gut microflora doesn't mean that you have leaky gut, but it can lead to that. So what leaky gut essentially means is that the lining of the gut and the intestinal wall becomes damaged per se. Like think of a brick wall and maybe some pieces are falling out, an old brick wall where it's kind of crumbling in pieces. So basically, some things, undigested foods, toxins, bacteria can then go in and out of the intestinal wall and get directly into our bloodstreams, which causes so many issues. Again, I'm going to get into this list here. Issues such as autoimmune. The body, these are foreign substances entering the bloodstream that are not meant to be there. The body is then using its system to protect itself, creating autoimmune diseases, which is like increasing at alarming rates. And let's talk about cancers, type 2 diabetes, obesity, being overweight, asthma, skin conditions, heart disease, fatty liver damage. I mean, there are so many things that are linked to this gut health. So the balance of our gut health determines whether our body can fight disease or whether it succumbs to it. So basically that's where it is. Like 80% of our immune system comes from the gut. So if we're imbalanced and we can't fight things, where does that leave us? Okay, so now there are many studies coming out that is actually finding that people with similar gut bacteria are having similar physical symptoms. And this is hugely being linked to mental health, especially with PTSD, bipolar, and depression. So people all over the world, there was a huge study started in 2012 on the gut health. And this study has shown that people all over the world who are suffering from mental health conditions, some, I'm not going to say all, have similar gut health or the similar strains in their gut. So yeah, huge, very serious condition, something that, you know, we can all take steps to balance and to do a better job at looking after ourselves. And hey, Hippocrates said that all disease stems from the gut. Science is finding or claiming now that not all, but many of diseases come from the gut. So stay tuned. Part 2 is going to give you some ideas on what you can do DIY at home without going to your doctor, and also symptoms on how to know when it's time to go get further help.